Hello, dear ones, it's Maria with you again. Today is April 28th, 2022, and I'd like to talk to you about the origin of Earth, how Earth came about. For you that's new to my channel, I make videos in English, Portuguese, and Spanish. And the link for the playlist of all my videos in English is in the description of this video. I also gonna leave in the description of this video a link for a video of Lori Letter that some of the information I learned some of the information that I'll talk in this video from her video, and many other sources like Dolores Cannon's book and many others. There's a combination of all of them. So we were created by God like Himself. We are part of God's consciousness. We are a beautiful thought in the mind of God. If you do not resonate with the information I will gonna tell, it's okay. If you are curious about, so just stay with me. So remember that we are a beautiful thought in the mind of God. Everything that exists in the physical was born with an idea, was born in the mind, was born with a thought. So one other day, God have the thought, what about if we rise our frequency from a physical planet from the fifth dimension to the seventh dimension? How that would be interesting, how that would come about. Get a planet that's vibrating the fifth dimension and rise the vibration to the seventh dimension. And then somebody just jump in and say, wow, that sounds amazing. Count on me. I would like to do that. That was Gaia. Gaia is the earth being, is the being that's incarnated on earth. You can say like the higher soul of earth. So, okay, so we already have the being to incarnate on this planet. Now we need the planet. You also were created with a thought. God had a thought that He wanted to experience something, and then you jump in and say, oh, I want to go. It's okay, so you can go. That's how you separated yourself from God. But actually, it's not exactly a separation because you're still connected. But you leave oneness to live an experience separated from oneness. And God had many other ideas, like I want to create the galaxies, to create stars, to create the planets, and then other parts of God say, I want to do that, I want to do that. So it was created the council of 9 or 12 light beings, and each light being has another council, a small council that's they form 11 more that forms 12, so it's 120. But of course, if you get there and then you realize, oh, it's not 120, they just give a number to us because they know we like numbers. So okay, I already have the volunteer to incarnate the soul to incarnate on Earth, but now we need to create the planet. So they chose the location, solar system. They took a piece of the sun. I heard that somewhere. If doesn't make much difference if they decided to take a piece of the sun or if they just create for nothing. I don't think that makes much difference. But let's consider that they create a piece of sand, a little ball of fire, put a little certain distance from the sun, and then they started to cool down the earth and clean the air, clean the oceans, create water, and all those sort of things. That happened 4 billion years ago. And then on Dolores Cannon's book, she make a regression of some clients that they regret for into past lives where they were some of those workers cleaning up the earth, preparing the earth to be what it is right now. Beautiful, amazing. So they took a long time for us. About 40,000 years ago, Earth was that perfect jewel, and life started to come to Earth. When all the air was clean and everything was done, they covered the Earth with a sort of plasma substance, and the life started coming from that plasma. So 40 years ago, 40,000 years ago, some beings, like in physical bodies or light bodies, they started coming to Earth just to visit, have a good time, have some experience in the physical, and then they would leave. It was like a vacational place. They would use as vacation. And about 20,000 years ago, Earth had the idea, well, how about if we create some human bodies as a 5D human bodies, and divide some beings from all over the universe to incarnate on those bodies, and we ascended together. That's how the human race for Earth was created. And those bodies were was designed by the light beings, but it was really created by high dimensional ETs. They created and then they seed the earth. They have seed the earth for many times. Some projects work, others didn't. So after some time, they had two civilizations. There was the Lemurian that had a more divine feminine energy and were very connected to earth. And there was the Atlantis that had the more masculine energy and was more like about technology, discovery, and those sort of things. So, and then you may ask me, but Maria, I heard somewhere that Earth was created in 6 days. How come that was created from 4 billion years ago took more than almost 4 billion years to do it? How we perceive time here on Earth. Time is perceived by the time Earth takes to go around the sun. So, do you think would make sense that other beings outside of the solar system, or even outside Earth, would use the same analogy of time? I don't think that would make sense. For them, 4 billion years is a blink of an eye. And another thing you may ask is, but how that be? So wasn't God who created Earth? Of course it is. Because the light beings, they are part of God's consciousness exactly like us. However, they are in a higher dimension. For example, after the fifth dimension, in the fifth dimension, you don't forget that you are one with God. You remember that you are one with God. Actually, I just remember another thing. Why from the fifth dimension to the seventh dimension? The fifth dimension is the lowest dimension that you can be in a physical body and still remember that you are one with God. If she had choose the third dimension, that would be, she could get lost. And then, why the seventh dimension? The seventh dimension is the highest dimension that you can go in a physical form. On the eighth dimension, the physicality is more like a light body is almost none. And starting from the ninth dimension, all the laws of physics that we know doesn't apply to the ninth dimension. So that's why they decided to go from the fifth dimension to the seventh dimension. So returning about the light beings. Starting on the fifth dimension, you remember that you are one with God. And then after you remember you are one with God, you want to do the God's will for you. Starting on the 13th dimension is when you meet God face to face. When you rise your vibration to the 13th, you reach the Christ consciousnness. You become one with God. You merge your consciousness with God's consciousness. But I heard that there is like 74, and I wouldn't be surprised if there is even more or infinite. But I can't even think about. But those light beings, they are very high dimension. So when they create, they are creating with God. They are fulfilling the will of God for them. So was God who created earth through them. Remember that when God created us, when He created all the sons and daughters, He gave us all His attributes. We are almost as powerful as God. Not so, because we cannot create God. He created us, but we cannot create gods. We are almost as powerful as God, but not so. Not as much as Him. So, another thing is, you can also, but how about so wasn't God who created the humans? Well, remember that we are not a body. We are spirit. We are soul. We are consciousness. Our consciousness was created by God. The human body was designed by the light beings, was created by deities, fulfilling the will of God. So, for me, everything is connected. I'm not sure what you think about, but if you are still with me, it's okay. But as I told you, you don't need to believe in everything that I say. You don't need to believe. You can believe partially, all or none. It's all right. But sometimes it's good to have another perspective. And remember that we are in the third dimension. That's another story that I'll do in another video. And also, who were the souls, who were the spirits that came to inhabit those bodies. So I'm gonna talk, there will be my next video, where we came from. So 2 videos more to come. Thank you very much for listening to me all the way to the end. and much love and light to you.